Let's start the class by chanting the invocation together. Om Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejas Vinavadi Tamastumavid Vishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. What is life? Life is nothing but an interpretation. It is like a blank canvas, and on that blank canvas, you can draw anything that you want. Similarly, you project your thoughts upon the world. When you are contacting the world, the stimuli from the world is coming to you all the time. And the stimuli is of three types: perceptions, emotions, and thoughts. Your senses contacts the perceptions, your mind contacts the emotions, your intellect contacts the thoughts. When these stimuli enter into you, your mind and intellect react with that stimuli. And that's where the interpretation happens. The interpretation takes place at the level of the reaction within. See, in other words, one person says to be rich is the best thing in life. He sacrifices everything else in life just to become rich. So his interpretation of life is richness. Another person's interpretation of life is family. A person says family is the best, family is the highest. The third person's interpretation is community service. A person says community service is the best, is the highest. That is his interpretation. Each one has a different interpretation. The question is who is right, who is wrong? So, where does this interpretation come from? The interpretation can come either from your mind or from your intellect. If it comes from the mind, it is called impulsive. When it comes from the intellect, it is called rational. Is your interpretation of the world impulsive or rational? Sometimes it could be a combination of both. But we are analyzing it separately, so it is easy for you to understand. As I said, who is right, who is wrong? The test is unconditioned cheer. When you experience cheer unconditionally, what I mean by unconditioned cheer is a cheer that is not related to anything. You can't quite put your finger on it, but first thing in the morning, you're happy, you're cheerful. During the day, you're smiling, you're happy. Nothing has happened. Nobody has given you £1 million. You understand? Nothing, no, nothing exceptional. But you feel so overjoyed. Similarly, at night, you go to bed, you're overjoyed. So that unconditioned cheer is a result of the right interpretation of life. You can't buy it through wealth. You can't buy it through power. You can't buy it through family. You can't buy it through any other means except through the use of your intellect. As I said, you have this choice. The choice is either impulsive or rational. And that choice makes all the difference in life. In fact, all the actions that you're doing falls into these two categories. Impulsive actions are led by the mind, and rational actions are led by the intellect. I did mention this in the last class last week, and today we'll show you what is the difference between the mind and the intellect. See that. The mind is the seat of impulses, emotions. Intellect is that which thinks, reasons, decides, and judges. These two words come from the Sanskrit words. Manas is mind, buddhi is intellect. Mind is different from the intellect. In fact, mind is the opposite of the intellect. A mind is that which makes you impulsive and emotional. The intellect is that which makes you objective and detached. A person operating on the mind who's impulsive just reacts mechanically to the world, reacts mechanically to the desires. As a result, the person has no control over his desires. It is the person who uses the intellect who can control the desires. Regardless of which equipment you use, the fact that you're born as a human being, you have this power. And what is that power? The power to choose. No other creature has this power to choose. You see the documentaries, you see the life of animals. Each animal has a particular nature, a particular tendency. The animal cannot change it. They are built in a certain way. They have to live that way and die that way. They can't change. A carnivore has to be a carnivore. A herbivore has to be a herbivore. They can't change. But as humans, you have this choice of action, the capacity to change. Interestingly, when we are born as children, you understand, when you're born as a child, you are so weak. You're at the mercy of your parents, you're at the mercy of the world. Whereas the animals, when they are born, they are much more stronger. See, a giraffe, the moment the giraffe is born, it has to stand on its legs. Can you imagine a human baby being asked to stand on its feet the moment it is born? It is impossible. A tiger cub, by 18 months, it is taught how to hunt. Just 18 months, it's taught how to hunt. Humans have the most pampered childhood. You understand? So, as humans, we are weak, but in course of time, we become so much more stronger, and then we have a capacity to control these animals. How is it that you're able to control animals? Animals have got so much more physical strength, brute force, and yet, as humans, you control that because we are given that intellect, we are given that choice of action. As a result, you live by choice, not by chance. Whatever happens to you in your life is the result of all the choices in the past. Past means this moment backwards. The result of all the choices is your present life. Similarly, what is your future? Future will be the past modified in the present. Choice is greater than destiny. People are scared of destiny. Oh, what's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to me? You go to astrologers, you go to soothsayers, you go to all sorts of people to find out what's going to happen to you. Sometimes they go to parrots also. Parrots pick up a card and tell them what the future will be. I don't understand. The parrot doesn't have any intellect. You're going to a creature which has no intellect to find out about your life. See, what the astrologer preys on, he preys on your weakness. You understand? The astrologer also doesn't know. If he knew what his life will be, he won't be doing that job. He'll be doing something else. He also doesn't know, but he is preying on your weakness, the weakness of your ignorance. And what is that ignorance? The ignorance that you have is you don't understand that the choice you have is greater than destiny. As a human being, you are the architect of your fortune, you are the architect of your misfortune. There is no planets, no stars that is determining your life. There is nobody else except your own choice of action. In fact, even the definition of destiny, what is the definition of destiny? Destiny or fate is the result of your past actions. You're given the choice of action in the past. You exercise the choice of action in a particular way. As a result, you have a destiny today. If you had studied from a young age, you would be a literate person today. If you have not studied from a young age, you would be illiterate. That present destiny is the result of your past choices. Similarly, your future destiny can be modified by your choice. What choice you make today leading to the future can change your future destiny. You see that on the screen. You live by choice, not by chance. You believe things happen by chance, it doesn't happen by chance. So, what is the highest goal of human existence? The highest goal of human existence is to gain the knowledge of your real self. I did indicate in the last week's class that we'll be going through 4 parts. And today we are examining the first part, part 1, which is the basics of Vedanta. And then over a period of time, over a few weeks, perhaps a few months, we'll move on to the next part, Vedanta and practical living. And once you're prepared with this foundation, then you can get into subtler aspects of Vedanta, which is the third part, Vedanta and spirituality. And finally, Vedanta and the transcendental. For those who missed it last week, you can see that division of the parts, 4 parts. So I'll be explaining various concepts. This is the difference between this class and the scriptural classes. In the Bhagavad Gita class or the Atma Bodha class, I'm explaining verse by verse. Here it is concept based class. I'm going to be explaining concept by concept. In fact, this is direct. I'm directly explaining the concepts without the need for any verses as such. Now, the highest goal is the discovery of one's own self. Why that is considered the highest goal is because once you discover your own self, you get infinite bliss, infinite happiness, which is what every human being is seeking. So, since you fulfill your purpose in life, that is said to be the highest goal. The Upanishads declare that you have lost your identity. Oh, human, you have lost your identity. You've got to get back your identity. And as a result, you are affected by the world because you have lost your identity. You take an actor when an actor plays a role, the actor knows that he is not the role. He is Mr. So and so, or she is Mrs. So and so performing that role. So when you're acting, you go through that role, and everybody who sees you perform that role says, "Oh my God, so real it is, so real it is." But internally, what does that person understand? I have nothing to do with that role. As a result, the person is not affected by what happens. Suppose one film, the person acts as a king. You understand? He's acting like a king. He's actually penniless in real life. He's waiting for that movie to get over so that you can get some money. But in the movie, he's acting like a king, brilliantly acts. Actually, he's a pauper in real life. The next movie, he acts, and in Romeo and Juliet, he plays the role of Romeo, and he is in love with Juliet on the screen. In real life, his wife has just divorced him. You understand? His wife has divorced him in real life, but when he plays that role, everybody says, "What a beautiful role! How beautifully you enacted it." So you understand you have nothing to do with the role. You execute the role to the best of your ability. All the world's a stage. All men and women are merely players. They have their exits and entrances. All the world's a stage. If you operate with that attitude, you don't get affected. Why is the actor not affected? Because the actor fixes the identity and performs the role. There was one instance, there was one actor who acted in one of the films as that character of Joker, in Batman film. And he got so involved in that role, so attached to that role, that he had to go through psychiatric problems. He had psychiatric problems, he had to consult a psychiatrist because he got so involved in that role. So when you lose your identity and get involved, you get affected. All that they're saying is fix your identity, find your identity, and you can take up any roles in life. You can be a father or a mother, you can be a husband or a wife, son or a daughter. It makes no difference because you understand I have nothing to do with that role. I am that self within. My true identity is the self. You are in that state of total bliss, a bliss which cannot be defined by anything in the world. A great saint in ancient India was in that state of bliss. He was a self realized person. And this was the time when Alexander the Great came to conquer India. And he was told that there are many saints. He said, I want to meet one of them. So these soldiers, they went looking and they found a saint sitting somewhere in the wilderness, very happily sitting. So they went and spoke to him and said, Sir, you look like a saint. My Our king wants to meet you. To which the saint said, if he wants to meet, he should come. You understand? Which is a fact. If you want to meet, you have to go. He said, ask the king to come. They said, how can you talk like that? He's a king, he's an emperor. You can't talk like that. They tried to persuade him. He said, listen, leave me alone. I'm happy. I'm not interested in all these things. And finally, they were so annoyed with him. They were so angry with him. They picked him up and they took him to the palace. Even there, he didn't have to walk. You see, they picked him up. So he was comfortable. So they took him to the palace. And Alexander the Great was there and he asked him a few things. He said, I have nothing. I have no interest in anything. So Alexander said, Sir, I'll give you whatever you want. You stay in the palace. He said, I don't want anything. I am not interested in the palace. I want to go. So Alexander also got angry with the saint. He put him in prison. He said, listen, come to your senses, old man. You go to the prison. So he sent him to prison. And then all the wise people around Alexander said, Sir, don't do this. These are wise people, holy people. They're very powerful. So then after a day, he cooled down and he went to the prison. And he spoke to this saint. He said, "Sir, I'm very sorry. Please forgive me. In my ignorance, I did something rashly. I want to offer you something." To which the saint said, "Listen, from the beginning, I'm saying I don't want anything. You don't need to offer anything. Leave me alone." But Alexander said, "No, sir. So please, please, for my sake, ask something. Anything you want, I'll give you. I can give you anything you want." To which the saint said, "Son, one thing I can ask you." "Yes, yes, yes. Please say what you want. What do you want?" "Before you were coming, the sunlight was coming right in front of me. You came and stopped that sunlight. So my wish to you is, please step aside so that the sunlight will fall on me." So Alexander stepped aside. He caught the sunlight. He said, "Bye bye," and he left. See, so stories like this highlight that these masters have no interest, no desire in anything. They don't want anything genuinely. Suppose you were asked by Alexander, "What do you want?" Huh? You have a big shopping list ready. A big shopping list you have ready. This. So that is the state of perfection. The state of perfection is a state of desirelessness, not wanting anything. This is the difference between a worldly person and a spiritual person. A worldly person's strength is having a lot. A spiritual person's strength is not wanting anything. A spiritual person could also have a lot, but internally doesn't want anything. The fact that you don't want anything will make you powerful. This self is within each one, but you are not aware of the self. You're not conscious of the self because of your involvement with your body, mind, and intellect. The body, mind, intellect are the material layers. And since you're involved with the body, mind, intellect, it obscures your realization of the self. You don't see the self because of the involvement with the body, mind, intellect. You've got to get out of that involvement to be able to understand the self, to experience that self. In fact, people are caught up in a catch 22 situation. To see the self, you have to get out of involvement. But to understand that you're involved, you need the knowledge of the self. How do you understand that you're involved? You go to a person in the streets and say, "Oh, sir, you're involved in the world." He'll say, "What are you talking? Talking rubbish." Nobody will accept that they're involved in the world. To understand that you're involved, you've got to seek the self. You got to know the self. To the extent you know the self, in contrast, you understand how involved you are. It's like a person who is totally drunk. A person who is totally drunk does not understand he or she is drunk. Next morning, when they become sober, they realize, "My God, how drunk I was." A mad person does not understand that he's mad. So when you're involved and caught up in something, you don't understand what you're caught up in. Only when you're free from it, you realize what you're caught up in. To understand that self within, you have to overcome the involvement with the body, mind, intellect. The body, mind, and intellect are not the problem. It is the attachment, the involvement to them, which is a problem. The preoccupation with the body, mind, intellect. So living is an art. Living is a skill. It is a technique. You have to learn how to live life. It doesn't come automatically. Just because you're born and you're brought up and you've lived for 30 or 40 years does not mean the person knows how to live. Like any other skill or technique, you've got to learn it, you've got to practice it. And you may make some mistakes in the beginning, but ultimately you will learn the right way. But people don't understand that living is an art And if at all people come to this spiritual knowledge, they come to this in later part of their life. In many cases, they treat the spiritual knowledge as a post-retirement pastime. Huh? Nothing else to do. So let me examine this knowledge. So this knowledge is meant for everyone, young or old. Everybody needs this knowledge. But if you start when you're young, you are better positioned to learn. You can grasp things much quicker and you can avoid the various mistakes people make in life. Now, your involvement with the world is because of two motivations. There are two motivations that are driving you to act in the world. And these two motivations are called as acquisition and enjoyment. You take up anybody in the world, they are driven by these two motivations to acquire, and having acquired, you want to enjoy what you have acquired. Why do you go to work? Is you want to acquire. And is that enough? No, no, no. With that, with what I've acquired, I want to enjoy. Enjoyment follows acquisition. In fact, there's nothing wrong with acquisition. There is nothing wrong with enjoyment. Vedanta is not against acquisition. It is not against enjoyment. Now, what are these two? It is indicated in various scriptures as Kanchana and Kamini. Kanchana literally means wealth. The style of the scriptures is they choose one aspect to highlight all aspects. So they've chosen wealth to indicate all acquisitions. The acquisition is not only acquisition of wealth, even acquisition of family, acquisition of knowledge. All acquisitions is indicated by that one word, kanchana, which is wealth. Similarly, they have chosen one word to indicate all the enjoyments, kamini. Kamini means a woman. It could be a woman or a man. What they mean is that sexual enjoyment that you experience. They've selected the highest enjoyment to indicate all enjoyments. Even eating an ice cream is kamini, woman, in that sense. You understand? All enjoyments are covered with that one word. So see that. Kanchana is wealth, which indicates all acquisitions. Kamini means a woman, which indicates all enjoyments. Acquisition is essential for living. It is essential for growth. If you don't acquire, you can't grow. You can't progress. There won't be any prosperity. In fact, acquisitions keep you active and dynamic. Sometimes people come and say, listen, we are not interested in working. I've got plenty of money. I remember a CEO of a company, and truly speaking, he had plenty of money for a few generations. And he said, listen, why do I need to work? I want to retire. Then I had to explain to him, don't do that. Because if you retire, you will lose your activity, you will lose your dynamism. I remember almost 25 years back, I gave him the advice. He's still acting and he's doing much better than what he was doing earlier. So, acquisition. See, in other words, as a child, the child acquires toys and enjoys playing with it. And then you acquire fitness and enjoy the health that comes with it. You acquire knowledge and enjoy the career. So different types of acquisitions result in different types of enjoyments. Now, what is the problem then with acquisition? If Vedanta is not against acquisition, and which is a fact, Vedanta does not say you should stop acquiring. It says you can keep on acquiring as much as you want, depends upon your capacity. Then where is the problem? What is it that we have to watch out for? The problem is when you acquire, don't place your happiness on future acquisitions. The mistake that people make is they fix their present happiness on future acquisition. And that is the mantra everybody follows. What is the mantra? If I get that, I will be happy. If I get that, I will be happy. If I win the Wimbledon next year, I will be happy. If I buy that company, I will be happy. If I get married to that person, I'll be happy. If I have a child, I'll be happy. So different ways people are wanting happiness, but the mantra is the same. If I get that, if I get that. The problem with that is even if you get it, you will only get the temporary happiness. Instantly, the mind pitches up the next thing. If I get that, I will be happy. You keep shifting your goalpost in life constantly. As a result, you're never happy. You're never contented. The way to go about it is you should acquire with your intellect, not with the mind. The mind is that which keeps pitching up the present happiness on future acquisition. But if you use your intellect, how will the intellect direct you? Be contented with what you have and aspire for more. There's nothing wrong with aspirations. There's nothing wrong with an aim or an ambition, but it should not be based on a discontentment. I'm very happy where I am, but if you have a bigger house, it'll be better. So you acquire a bigger house not because you're miserable where you are. So acquisition should be directed by the intellect. As I said, the intellect says be contented with what you have and aspire for more. You're happy at the same time you're active. But the problem is hardly anybody understands this approach to acquisition. They just use the mind and they keep on acquiring, acquiring, acquiring. And the absurdity is that even some people who acquire a lot of wealth, they also become miserable. See, the super rich. Ah, why I'm saying that is when you are trying to get wealth, what do you want? You want to become a super rich person one day. You understand? If you had the capacity. But if you go and find out what is their state of mind, one of the articles was published in the Telegraph almost 20 years back. And the title of that article was, Are you miserable? Are you bored? Then you must be rich. That was the title of that article. Miserable, question mark. Bored, question mark. You must be rich. You understand? It's a fascinating article. I said, what is this all? So they were talking about a phenomenon called wealth fatigue syndrome. A person who acquires enormous amount of wealth gets fatigued by the wealth itself. The absurdity is you want wealth to be happy, and wealth makes you miserable. Oliver Goldsmith, in his famous book, The Vicar of Wakefield, he remarks, where wealth accumulates, men decay. See that? Famous words of Oliver Goldsmith. Where wealth accumulates, men decay. Is interesting what Oliver Goldsmith is saying. He is not saying rich people decay, where wealth accumulates. When you accumulate things beyond what you need, he says that decays your mind. It's nothing to do with wealth, it could be anything. 45 pairs of shoes you have. You understand? Huh? 25 pairs of watches. If you're accumulating things beyond what you need, your mind decays. Where wealth accumulates, men decay. The nature of the mind is it wants one more, just one more, just one more. You feel happiness is around the corner. If I get that one thing more, I'll get it. I'll achieve it. What Rama Tirtha, a famous Swami, he calls it as the snare of 99. If you go to 99, you feel one more, I can make it 100. He says a snare of 99. You get caught up in that snare. So whether you have wealth, whether you don't have wealth, both of them are miserable. Haves and have-nots, both unhappy. Similarly, with enjoyment, life is for you to enjoy. There's nothing wrong with enjoyment. But the absurdity of enjoyment is when you start enjoying with your mind and you indulge, through indulgence, you end up losing the enjoyment. Is what is called as neutralization. Neutralization is as you keep indulging, the pleasure content keeps on reducing, reducing, reducing until you lose all pleasure from it. When you lose all pleasure from it, you are said to be neutralized to that object, neutralized to that enjoyment. A person enjoys a cup of coffee. The first cup of coffee you have in the morning is enjoyable. If you keep indulging in it every 1 hour, you keep having coffee, coffee, coffee. By the afternoon, you get sick and tired of coffee. Anybody makes coffee, you'll throw the cup on his face. You understand? You, so, why did you lose the pleasure? How did you lose the pleasure? Because of indulgence. When you indulge, you lose the pleasure. You get neutralized to that enjoyment. It could be holidays. I remember visiting Lake District a long time back, almost 20 years back, and stayed in a B&B with a couple. They were running that B&B. And then I was curious. I asked them, listen, all of us come to Lake District, such a lovely place. Where do you guys go for your holidays? And I was shocked when I heard the answer. They said, we are going to London. We're going to London for holidays. What do you mean? They say everybody from London is coming to Lake District for a break, and they are going to London for a break. So it's interesting. What is that which is causing the pleasure? You understand? They are neutralized to Lake District. They're living there, they're contacting all the time, they're bored of Lake District. They want to go to London. People in London are bored of London, they want to go somewhere else. So if you keep indulging, you get neutralized to that enjoyment. Even with couples, it's the same principle. They don't know how to relate to their partner. They indulge with a partner, too much contact. They lose the pleasure, lose the joy. You got to regulate the contact. Acquisition and enjoyment are both essential. There's nothing wrong with it. But the acquisition and enjoyment have to be directed by the intellect, not the mind. Acquisition and enjoyment is what? A and E. A and E. So if you don't use intellect to guide your A and E, you'll end up in a and E. Huh? You end up in a and E. If you don't guide your A and E correctly, your acquisition and enjoyments correctly. And life, what is life? Life is a stream of experiences. That is how life is defined. Life is defined as a flow of experience, a stream of experience. Like a river flows, similarly, experience is flowing is life. And experience is a contact between the subject and the object. From your standpoint, you are the subject, I am the object. From my standpoint, I am the subject, you're all the objects. Subject contacting the object is an experience. A series of such experiences make your day, make your week, make your life. In order to improve the quality of experience, you've got to improve the subject and the object. You understand? So you want a better life. You want to improve the quality of your life. What do you need to do? You have to improve the quality of experiences. If you want to improve the quality of experiences, what do you need to do? You have to improve the subject and object, the experiencer and the experienced. Broadly speaking, in your experience, you are the subject, the world is the object. Very broadly speaking. Everything else apart from you is the object, and you are the subject. So you contacting the world is a subject contacting the object. That is the experience you're having. One set of thinkers went about improving the object, the world. They made world better and better and better with an idea that we'll get more happiness. But they focus their efforts solely upon the world. These are the scientists. So, what is science? Science is designed to improve the world, to make the world a better place. You see the technology being improved. You see all the gadgets, the amenities and facilities are being improved. Why? In order to make us all happy. The second set of thinkers, thousands and thousands of years back, they sat and they thought about it and they said, see, these scientists have improved the world is a better place, and yet human beings are not happy. Your happiness is not directly proportional to improving the standard of living. Just because you have a better standard of living doesn't mean you're more happy. So they were examining what else is being missed out. And they discovered that it is only the object, the world that is improved, but the subject, the individual, you, is forgotten. This second set of thinkers went about improving the individual. They focus solely on who is this individual. And they set about improving self-development of the individual. These thinkers are the Vedantic sages. So the scientists, they improve the standard of living. The Vedantic sages, they improve the standard of life. For an ideal world, you need both science and Vedanta. You are the subject, the world is the object. The object has to be improved, the subject has to be improved. As a result, life will be better. As a result, your experiences will be better. So science and Vedanta are similar in as much as both are based on laws of life. Science is based on laws. Similarly, Vedanta is also based on laws. But where they differ is the focus of attention. So, where is the focus of attention? So, as far as science is concerned, the focus of attention is external, the world. With Vedanta, the focus is internal, the individual, the human being. The area of operation is different in the case of science and Vedanta. See the diagram, it'll help you to understand this concept. Life is you contacting the world. And you contacting the world is the experiences. To improve the experience, you have to improve you and the world. To improve the world, you need science. To improve you, you need Vedanta. When both are improved, you have a perfect experience, perfect life. So, as I said, these scientists, they started with a theory, and then based on that theory, a supposition, they did various observations. And when these observations were consistent, then the law was created. So every law starts as a theory. And then through consistent observations, they create a law. Exactly the same procedure the Vedantic sages also followed. They also started with a theory, and then they observed over years and years. And then they came up with the various laws. And these laws are what are documented in the Upanishads. These laws are documented in the Bhagavad Gita, in all the scriptures. As we go along, we'll be examining these laws. One of the laws is the law of detachment. Detached, you are happy. Attached, you suffer. Detach, you gain. Attach, you lose. A person who is attached to wealth eventually loses the wealth. The person who is detached gains it. So, the law of attachment, the law of detachment, you will examine that. Like that, we'll be examining various laws. Similarly, the law of selfishness. If you're selfish, you are stressed, you're agitated. If you're unselfish, you're happy, you're cheerful. The moment you see somebody being cheerful, you immediately understand the person is unselfish. A person is all the time stressed, you immediately understand the person is self centered. So, subjective development prepares you to meet the challenges of the objective world. How do you meet the challenges of the world? You need to be prepared from within. So, subjective development prepares you to meet the challenges of the external world. It's like the immune system. Your immune system should be strong. And if the immune system is strong, you can withstand any weather. You go out in any weather, you meet any people, any viruses you contact, you'll be fine. But if you don't have a strong immune system, you can't contact the world. You have to hide from the world. Similarly, when you gain the knowledge of Vedanta, you develop a strong inner personality, like the strong immune system, a mental immune system you develop. And when you develop that strong mental immune system, you can withstand any pressures from the world. Difficult neighbor, a very, very difficult neighbor, always plays loud music. Uh, you have a strong inner personality, strong mental immune system. You will know how to relate to that person. A difficult boss at work, how do you deal with that person? You understand? Difficult partner, difficult children, difficult mother-in-law. Uh, and that we may need something different. You understand? Normal things may not work. So, how do you face challenges? You got to have that strength from within. See, this is what is called as self-management. What is self-management? Self-management is the capacity of the intellect to control your mind. A self-managed person is developed to withstand anything in the world. In fact, self-management is the base for stress management. Self-management is the base for people management. Self-management is the base for time management. People complain of lack of time. There is no such thing as lacking time. Time is the same for everybody. Just because you're a lovely person, good person, you're not given extra time. You understand? Everybody has 24 hours in a day. So when you say lack of time, what do you mean lack of time? Time is the same. So what happens is when you are not managing yourself correctly, you can't manage your time. You can't manage people. You can't manage wealth. So self-management is the base for any other form of management. And that's what in the sixth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, a very famous verse, verse number 5 of the sixth chapter, when Arjuna had surrendered to Krishna completely and said, Krishna, you tell me what to do, I'll do. I'm at your feet. You tell me what to do. And the famous words of Krishna was, he did not say, okay, now I'll tell you what to do, you do. He didn't say that. He said, lift yourself by yourself. Uddharedatmanatmanam atmanam avasadayet. Uddharedatmanam, meaning lift yourself by yourself. Look at the humility of Krishna. See, this is a sign of a great master. The sign of a great teacher is never to say, yes, I will do everything for you. I will save you. No. The way they will say is, I'll help you, but you got to lift yourself. Lift yourself by yourself. Do not lower yourself. Yourself is your friend. Yourself is your enemy. See that verse. Let man lift himself by himself. Let him not lower himself. So, how do you lift yourself? Is by using the intellect. His self alone is his friend, his self alone is his enemy. So, you lower yourself by succumbing to the mind's cravings. By succumbing to the mind's demands, you lower yourself. You can lift yourself when you start gaining knowledge and using the intellect. You're your own friend, you're your own enemy. So the way you've got to understand is you want to manage anything else in the world, you've got to start with yourself. If you cannot manage one mind, which is your mind, how can you manage other minds? You need to first learn to manage yourself before you can manage anybody else. And there are people who are running companies, there are people who are running countries who can't even manage themselves. What will be the condition of that company? What will be the condition of that country? They can't manage themselves. See, when the lifeguard are taught, they're given lessons. The first lesson that a lifeguard is taught, you know what? You'll be shocked. The first lesson they are taught is when you see a person struggling for life in water, don't jump. Huh? I thought that was my job, to jump. So what they mean is don't be impulsive. Just because you see a person struggling, you go and jump. You also land yourself in trouble. And instead of one person drowning, two people drown. So they say first study what the circumstances are. Take a moment to examine and then take action. Because you go and jump and rescue the person. But first study what is the surrounding situation. So that is self-management. Self-management is to take some time to make some effort in improving yourself. Of course, we want to help others, but not at the cost of your own self-development. Not understanding this, many people think it is selfish. Oh, do I need to develop myself. Isn't that being selfish? That's not selfish. It's logical, it's sensible. You improve yourself so that you are better placed to help others. Otherwise, you yourself need help. If you yourself need help, how can you help others? So Vedanta helps you to fulfill the material needs and spiritual needs. Whatever material desires you have and whatever spiritual desires you have, Vedanta helps you to fulfill both of them. There's a poem that we'll be studying later. There's a fabulous poem called Pineapple and the Bee. And in that poem, the poet talks about this bee who wants to get that pineapple. But the pineapple is not meant for the bee, it's meant for the humans. But the bee keeps circling that pineapple. It is encased in a glass container. It can't get to it. Half the day it tries and turns another way. So the point is looking at that and he's saying, in thee I find the sin and madness of mankind. He's looking at the bee and he says, this is exactly what humans are doing. To joys forbidden man aspires, consumes his soul with vain desires, folly the spring of his pursuit, and disappointment all the fruit. He talks about, he draws parallel between what the bee is doing and what human beings are doing. And then at the end of the poem is written by the famous William Cooper. And at the end of the poem, William Cooper says, but they whom truth and wisdom lead can gather honey from a weed. He says, how do you get that happiness in life? How do you fulfill your material desires, your spiritual desires? By leading a life of truth and wisdom. But they whom truth and wisdom lead can gather honey from a weed. Even from a weed, meaning from an insipid experience, you can gain joy. You can draw joy from insipid experiences. Because it's not the external world that is giving you happiness. That happiness comes from within. You find the joy and happiness at work. You find the joy and happiness in your family. Wherever you are, you find the joy and happiness because it is not coming from the external world, it's coming from within you. You don't have to change anything. You got to change yourself. But the problem is, we are trying to change everything else external. You're trying to change the place you're in. You're trying to change your partner. You're trying to change everything external except yourself. How can you get more happiness? It's impossible. The whole approach is wrong. In the scriptures, it's called the Puranas. Puranas are where they give the stories of the scriptures. And in the Puranas, they give the example of Lakshmi, who is at the feet of Vishnu. Lakshmi is married to Vishnu. Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth. The goddess of wealth is sat at the feet of Vishnu, and Vishnu is reclining in a bed. So the significance is Vishnu represents the self, the knowledge of the higher. So what they're saying is, if you want wealth, you got to get the knowledge of the higher. You get the knowledge of the higher, you'll get wealth. Because the tradition is that if you go to that lady, she will not talk to you directly. She will point to her husband. So you got to go to him to get contact with her. So they're saying to get wealth, you've got to gain the knowledge of the self. Wealth comes along with the knowledge. Buy one, get one free. Ah, you get the knowledge, you get the self, you get everything else in the world. And that's exactly what the Bible also says. Seek the kingdom of heaven and everything else will be added on to you. First seek the kingdom of heaven. First seek that higher knowledge. Everything else will be added on to you. You'll get everything else. But you don't want to gain the knowledge. That is the problem. So if you need that higher knowledge, you need that effort. So if you are consistent with these classes, if you're consistent with this knowledge, you can make notes, you can reflect upon what you have examined in the classes, then come back with questions. Slowly you will find that you will be able to strengthen the intellect. It's never too late. It's just a matter of effort. At any age, you can make that effort and you will be successful. But you follow that procedure correctly. Okay, we'll stop here for today. Somebody's raised their hand. I'll take the question. Yes, sir. iPhone.
Hari Om Gautam ji. Sorry, Hari Om Bhaskarji. Sorry. I was listening. I've been listening to Gautam ji
Okay.
over almost a year now.
Okay.
More than a year. In the last verse, he said, like a friend, but he didn't say like a friend, but he said like an enemy. But here
Yes.
in this your verse, it says enemy. It doesn't say like an enemy.
You're confusing two different verses. This verse
Oh,
is what it is.
okay.
Don't compare. You come to one and stay with one person. You will learn properly.
Sure.
Don't keep jumping from person to person.
Sure.
Karishma.
Hari Om Bhaskarji.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you for the session today. Also,
Welcome.
last week was my first ever class, so it was very insightful. I noticed throughout the week that I was reflecting on information that you had provided and what you had taught us in the class with certain things throughout the week and in my life personally. One thing that I was finding slightly difficult to understand is when we have certain health issues that come up unexpectedly, we of course can't control those. We can take the advice that we've been given from, let's say, health professionals in order to try and help and manage those problems that we have. But sometimes I find myself that my mind can overtake and it causes me to worry quite a bit. So I just wanted to understand how I can use, you know, how we speak about the mind and the intellect. How can I try and manage my mind to not think and worry about the worst case scenario?
See, Karishma, you have fixed in your mind, it's not only you, it could be anybody. They're fixed in their mind that this is how their health should be. On what basis? You're saying, yes, you have some health problems. I appreciate that. I understand that. You understand that is you. But you have fixed in your mind that I should be the other person, but now I'm not that person. Therefore, you're all the time disturbed and agitated because you're comparing yourself to an ideal person. So you've got to accept that whatever is your health condition is you. This is you. Unless you accept that, you will not find that contentment. That's why I was explaining you should be contented and aspire for more. Be contented and improve your health. Whatever needs to be done to improve. But accept at any point of time, this is who I am.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. I agree. It's probably because how you explain about likes and dislikes, we will always look at perhaps something else that is the ideal, for example, but we might not quite be how that is, but it doesn't mean it's bad, you know?
See, a person who is blind, who can't see, uh, he enters the house. Okay, suppose he's blind, he enters the house. He doesn't need to switch on the light. Without switching on the light, he navigates through the entire house. Now, I can't do that. When I enter the house, I need to switch on the light. I need some sort of light to find my way around. So I would say I'm disabled in that sense. You understand? I need so, in other words, each one has got a different skill. They've got a different area where they're strong. So you've got to accept that whatever your area is, you accept that and understand that is you. And don't
Yes.
keep comparing with others. They are what they are. You don't know which area they would lack. They would lack
Yes.
something in some other area. So you accept, and then of course you keep improving yourself. You're not saying don't improve. You keep improving, but at any point of time, you got to accept this is me and be contented with that.
Thank you so much. And I'll see you next week. Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome. Phil?
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
You you've introduced the distinction and difference between the mind and the intellect,
Yes.
which to me is a new concept, to consider the intellect in such a way. So I'm trying to understand where the intellect sits within this situation, and so where does the activity of the intellect take place? Is it because, as I say, it sounds like it's separate and distinct from the mind. So I'm a little bit confused where that takes place.
No, the same thing I can ask you. Where does the activity of the mind take place? Because when you say mind or intellect, both are located in the subtle body, which is beyond the gross body. See, the gross body is defined by organs. In the gross body, has a brain, it's got a heart, it's got stomach and all that. Whereas the subtle body is not defined by organs, is defined by function. So mind and intellect are thoughts, and thoughts are located all over the body. It's not in any particular place. So mind and intellect are just thoughts, and they're different types of thoughts. That's all. That's why it is different. So mind is indiscriminate thoughts, intellect is discriminate thoughts. So mind is indiscriminate. It can want anything, it can ask for anything, it can like anything. But intellect is based on reason, is based on logic, is based on analysis. So it's more discriminated, is more disciplined thoughts, whereas mind is undisciplined thoughts.
Is there therefore conflict between the two?
Yes, there will be conflict. See, your mind likes to eat sweets, or your mind likes to eat something. The intellect says, no, it's not right for you to do it. The mind wants to laze. Intellect says you've got to be active. So there's a constant conflict between the two.
With the intellect being the more noble, higher element in the scenario.
But the difficulty is, if you have not strengthened that intellect, if you have not developed the intellect, then it is at the mercy of the mind. It's the mind that is driving your whole life, because intellect is weak, is powerless. So you've got to give that power to the intellect so that it can control the mind.
Thank you, sir. I understand. Thank you.
Okay, right. Namita ji. Unmute. Oh, she's gone. She exited. Okay. All right, everyone.
Unmute. Hello, Bhaskarji.
Thank you,
Yes.
Bhaskarji.
Yeah.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can all hear you.
I came back to this class again because last 1 year I was bedridden.
Oh. I know, I haven't seen you for a long time.
Yes. I had a heart condition.
Okay.
I was in hospital for 3 months.
Oh, gosh.
And I died 3 times, and they saved my life. And I don't know where and how I had that inner strength, and I always felt it must have been those classes I did with you. Even it surprised sometime the cardiologist in St. George's, seeing my stamina and saying, I don't know where it came from. But I also felt this whole year, it was such a traumatic situation. I had to have a full-time carer to look after me.
Okay.
And the person who, my GP had to write me a letter every year, come and see us to keep your name in the register. So that person to turn this, I thought, is a test in my life. I managed to come out of the woods, not there already, but I'm much, much, much better. And I thought I joined this class again because just to feel that I'm with it, you know? And unfortunately, last week I didn't have the have your passcode and things. And now today's class, it gave me such an emotional impact on it. I can't believe I can't express to you. I'm so grateful, Bhaskarji, that I managed to come back to you.
I'm so happy to see you, such a long time.
I'm really, I felt, I know these are the words I heard many, many times from you for the last so many years, but I don't know why it is making more sense to me. Because I'm reflecting with my own.
No, because you've gone through these tough experiences, so Therefore, you're far more receptive now.
Yes, much more.
But
I'm a
you've always
different
been a
person.
strong person. You've always been a strong person.
I don't know where I got that strength, but I still believe it is from the Vedanta I received it. Whatever intellect I managed to raise, sort of develop, very little, I'm sure. But it was such a help. I cannot explain in a most traumatic time.
Wonderful.
I think that is really, really an asset.
Thank you.
I thought I say this because
Yes.
there may be many new people in the group. And I'm the practical example, and I can explain from my practical experience.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Welcome, Namita.
Yeah, I'll see you next week.
Okay, see you.
Thank you.
Okay, see you all next week. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you,
Thank you very
Bhaskarji.
much.
Thank you, Bhaskarji.
Thank you, Bhaskarji.
Hari Om.
Thank you, Bhas.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bhaskarji.
Welcome everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhaskarji. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Good to see you, Kalpana, after a long time. Okay.